Ferris had spent his entire life elbow-deep in grease, rust, and broken dreams. Born on the outskirts of Novar, a sprawling junk world known for salvage technology and discarded alien relics, he had long since learned that humans were at the bottom of the food chain in the Galactic Dominion. The only way to get ahead? Find something valuable before someone bigger and meaner took it from you. So when Jackson heard that Prince Phalos of Venth was auctioning off an ancient starship, a battered, forgotten relic from a long-dead empire, he knew it was a gamble. The auction yard was a spectacle of bright neon signs, alien merchants in elaborate robes, and the acrid scent of burning ozone from broken-down fusion cores. Jackson weaved through the crowd, his pockets light but his instincts sharp. And there it was. The ship loomed before him, a beaten husk of corroded metal, its hull cracked from centuries of neglect. Alien runes flickered faintly along its surface, whispering secrets of a forgotten age. The crowd scoffed at it. The other bidders sneered. Jackson? He saw potential. Prince Phalos, a towering Venth noble with silver skin and a permanent air of disdain, eyed Jackson like a speck of dirt on his boot. You wish to purchase this wreck, human? Phalos drawled, amusement dripping from every syllable. Jackson folded his arms and gave him a crooked grin. Depends. What's the scrap value? The crowd laughed. Phalos smirked, waving a hand dismissively. Less than the fuel it would take to haul it away. But if you're desperate, I'll take 5,000 credits. Jackson nearly choked. 5,000 was an absurd price for a ship that didn't even turn on. He was about to walk away, until he noticed something. Beneath the grime and rust, a hidden energy signature pulsed faintly along the ship's core. It was ancient, but not dead. This ship had power. Jackson gritted his teeth. He had saved exactly 5,200 credits from years of hard work. If this bet failed, he would be flat broke. He took a breath and slapped the credits down. The auctioneer's tablet chirped. The crowd murmured. Phalos' smirk widened. Pleasure doing business, human. The prince gestured lazily toward a group of his servants. Deliver the ship to his scrapyard, and include the gift as well. Jackson frowned. What gift? But Phalos was already walking away, chuckling to himself. Jackson had a bad feeling. Jackson stood with his hands on his hips, staring at the hunk of metal he had just bet his entire future on. The ship had been dumped unceremoniously in the lot behind his workshop, its rusted bulk groaning under its own weight. The engines were dead. The hull was cracked. The navigation systems were probably older than the Dominion itself. Jackson sighed. You better be worth it, you ugly bastard. He pulled out his plasma torch and got to work. Hours passed as he peeled back layers of corrosion, searching for anything salvageable. The deeper he went, the more he realized this ship wasn't just old. It was special. The tech was pre-Dominion, crafted from materials he didn't even recognize. Then he found the door. Tucked away beneath layers of bulkhead plating was a sealed chamber. The moment Jackson brushed away the dust, the door hissed softly, ancient mechanisms sparking to life. His heart hammered. What the hell did I just buy? With a slow, deep breath, he reached for the control panel. It flickered, then unlocked with a soft chime. The door slid open, and Jackson froze. Inside the chamber, curled up in a stasis pod, was a creature unlike anything he had ever seen. A wolf. No. Not just a wolf, a beast. It was massive, even curled up, its fur a deep dark silver with faint streaks of bioluminescent blue that pulsed like the glow of a dying star. Its claws were sharp black obsidian, and its chest rose and fell with slow, heavy breaths. A warning sign on the pod flashed in alien script. Jackson's gut twisted. This wasn't just some random stowaway. This was something else, something rare, something valuable. A cold realization settled over him. Phalos hadn't sold him a ship. He had sold him a secret. And Jackson had just inherited a whole galaxy's worth of trouble. Jackson stared at the pod, every nerve in his body on edge. He had bought a ship, not a mythological alien predator. And yet, there it was, a massive wolf-like beast, its bioluminescent fur pulsing faintly in the dim light. The alien warning script on the pod flashed ominously, but Jackson couldn't read it. He could, however, tell that whatever this thing was, it wasn't meant to be found. His gut churned. This wasn't a mistake. Phalos knew exactly what he was doing. The so-called gift was a burden in disguise, something the Galactic Prince didn't want under his name, something dangerous. And Jackson had just inherited it. He reached for the control panel, hesitating for only a second before hitting the release switch. A warning blared. Biocontainment disengaged. Stasis sequence terminated. The pod hissed violently, white mist pouring out as the temperature rapidly adjusted to the workshop's atmosphere. The wolf's body twitched, its deep breaths turning into something sharper, more aware. Jackson took a step back, heart pounding. Then the wolf's eyes snapped open. Glowing, piercing, golden eyes locked onto Jackson. For a second, neither of them moved. Then the beast snarled, bearing fangs the size of Jackson's fingers. Instinct took over. Jackson scrambled back, grabbing the nearest tool, a hydro spanner. Utterly useless as a weapon. The wolf lunged forward, but instead of attacking, its legs buckled. It crashed to the floor, its massive body collapsing in a heap. Jackson froze, blinking. The wolf was weak. His breath came fast, adrenaline still pumping. But as he watched, he realized the beast wasn't recovering from the stasis well. It let out a low, pained growl, its claws scraping against the metal floor. Its muscles trembled, and its breathing was uneven. Jackson's grip on the hydro spanner tightened. This thing could rip his throat out the second it got its strength back. He had to act now before it became a problem. His instincts screamed, "Run," but something else whispered, "Help it." He swore under his breath. "I'm going to regret this." Carefully, he moved closer, hands up, voice calm. "Hey, big guy, you all right?" The wolf's ears flicked, its golden eyes narrowing. It was watching him, studying him. Jackson swallowed. He had been around animals his whole life. This wasn't just a mindless predator. It was thinking. Still, if it decided to kill him, there wasn't a damn thing he could do about it. He grabbed a portable medkit, slowly kneeling beside the creature. "You look like hell? Guess stasis wasn't exactly gentle on you, huh?" The wolf let out a low, rumbling breath, but it didn't move to attack. Jackson took that as permission. Carefully, he ran the scanner over its muscular frame, eyes widening as alien script scrolled across the display. "Warning, malnutrition detected. Warning, nano-regeneration system failure. Vascaran war beast genetic augmentation active." Jackson's breath hitched. "Vascaran," he muttered. His blood ran cold. He'd heard that name before. Vascarans weren't just some alien species. They were war beasts, bred for conquest and battle. And now one of them was in his workshop. Jackson sat on the floor of his workshop, staring at the giant alien wolf in front of him. It had eaten, drank, not killed him, which was a win, considering it was supposedly a Vascaran war beast, one of the most feared creatures in the galaxy. Jackson had given it some protein packs and a few liters of water from his emergency stash, watching as the beast devoured everything with silent precision. Now it was just staring at him. He sighed, running a hand through his grease-streaked hair. "All right, big guy, let's talk." The wolf's ears flicked, but it didn't move. Jackson leaned forward, elbows on his knees. "First off, let's get something straight. I didn't ask for you. This wasn't my idea. Some fancy royal prick thought it'd be funny to dump you on me." The wolf blinked slowly. Jackson exhaled. "Second, I need a name for you. Giant murder dog doesn't exactly roll off the tongue." The wolf let out a soft, almost amused huff. Jackson smirked. "Oh, so now you have a sense of humor?" He tapped his chin. "All right, how about Titan?" The wolf's ears twitched. "Too generic. Okay, what about Ghost?" A slow blink. Jackson sighed. "You're picky, huh?" He looked at the bioluminescent blue streaks running along the wolf's fur, the way they pulsed faintly, like a dying star. "Nova." The wolf tilted its head slightly. Something clicked in Jackson's gut. That was the one. "Yeah, Nova, that suits you." The wolf Nova exhaled softly, eyes half-lidded. For the first time since waking up, it looked calm. Jackson leaned back against his workbench, folding his arms. "All right, Nova, now that we're stuck with each other, how about you tell me why the hell you were locked in a stasis pod for God knows how long?" Nova's gaze sharpened. The glow in his golden eyes intensified, and then, to Jackson's absolute shock, "Because I was betrayed." Jackson choked on air. "You, what, you can talk?" Nova tilted his head. "You are surprised." "Of course I'm surprised. I thought you were just some alien war dog. I didn't think you'd have a whole damn vocabulary." Nova huffed. "I am not a dog human." Jackson dragged a hand down his face. "Oh, I am so out of my depth." Nova's golden eyes bore into him, the weight of his next words settling like a storm in the room. "I was once the guardian of Varen's throne, and now I am in exile." Jackson swallowed. What the hell did I just get myself into? He had no idea what to say. He had expected Nova to be dangerous. He had expected to wake up with his throat missing if the alien wolf decided he was more food than friend. But he hadn't expected this. "You're telling me," Jackson started, voice slow and measured, "that you were a guardian of the Vent Throne?" Nova's golden eyes flashed, the bioluminescent streaks along his fur pulsing faintly. "Yes." Jackson let out a low whistle. "Well, that explains why Follows dumped you on me. You were his, weren't you?" Nova's ears flattened slightly, a flicker of irritation passing through his expression. "I was not his. I served the throne of Venth, not the prince." Jackson leaned back against the workbench, crossing his arms. "Okay, so what happened?" Nova exhaled through his nose, the deep rumble of his breath filling the silence. When he finally spoke, his voice was quiet but laced with something dangerous. "I was framed." Jackson's eyebrows shot up. "For what?" Nova's answer was a single, chilling word. "Treason." A sharp chill ran down Jackson's spine. Nova lifted his head slightly, his golden eyes locking onto Jackson's with an unsettling intensity. "The Vascaran were bred for loyalty, but we are not mindless beasts. We think, we question." Jackson didn't dare interrupt. Nova continued. "I sensed a shift in the palace. The king had grown weak and the nobles, ambitious." His voice darkened. Then the prince, Follows, began consolidating power. Those who opposed him vanished. Those loyal to the old ways were silenced. Jackson swallowed. "So you got in the way." Nova bared his massive fangs. "I was a problem." Jackson had seen enough backroom deals and underhanded politics in Novar's scrapyards to know what happened next. "They set you up," he murmured. Nova nodded. "An assassination attempt was staged. The blade was found in my chambers. The king, already sick and fading, did not live long enough to learn the truth. Follows took the throne, and I was exiled." Jackson let that sink in. Everything about this situation suddenly made a hell of a lot more sense. Follows hadn't just wanted to dump Nova, he had wanted to make sure no one else knew about him. A living legend, a weapon of the Varen throne. A warrior too dangerous to keep alive. But instead of executing him, Follows had locked him away in stasis, hidden inside an abandoned ship, and sold him off like junk. Jackson shook his head. "That's cold, even for a spoiled royal bastard." Nova's growl was low and bitter. He feared what I could become. Jackson hesitated, looking at the massive alien wolf sitting in his workshop. He should be scared. Nova was a trained warrior, a being bred for war. But all Jackson saw was a creature robbed of everything. "All right," Jackson said, rubbing his face. "We've got two problems then." Nova flicked an ear. "Only two?" Jackson smirked. "First, Follows is going to come looking when he realizes I didn't just scrap the ship like a good little peasant." Nova narrowed his eyes. "And the second?" Jackson sighed, shoving his hands into his pockets. "You need a damn bath," Nova huffed. "I was in stasis." "Yeah, for how long?" Jackson wrinkled his nose. "You smell like an old engine block." Nova bared his teeth in what could have been a grin, beat and whispered conversation. He returned just as Jackson was finishing the last decoy, his massive form slipping through the dim workshop light with an eerie silence. "They're gathering," Nova said, his voice a low rumble. 10 ships, maybe more. The strongest are waiting, letting the small ones test the waters first." Jackson smirked. Classic. Let the desperate idiots spring the trap first, see what shakes out. He wiped grease from his hands and stood, stretching. "Well, let's give them something to find." He activated the decoys, and instantly, multiple false energy signatures flared up across the junk district. Within minutes, the bounty hunters would be swarming the wrong locations, chasing ghosts through the wreckage. Nova watched, his golden eyes flickering with something close to amusement. "You're good at deception." Jackson grinned. "I have my moments, but deception alone won't win this. We need to send a message." Nova's ears flicked forward. "You wish to make an example?" "Damn right." Jackson grabbed his rifle and checked the charge. "You up for it, big guy?" Nova bared his fangs in a feral grin. "Let them come." As the first wave of bounty hunters descended into the junk district, Jackson and Nova moved into position. It was time to remind the galaxy why you should never hunt a war beast. Zone. "He's here," Jackson muttered, gripping the railing. Nova didn't move. "Then we finish this." The bounty hunter's ship touched down with eerie precision, the engines barely making a sound. A single figure emerged, a tall man clad in matte black armor, his helmet smooth and featureless, except for a faint red glow where his eyes should be. Kane Rivik moved like a shadow, his steps calculated, his posture effortless. This was a man who had never lost a hunt. Jackson felt a chill run down his spine. "Nova, you sure about this?" The war beast's ears flicked, but he didn't take his eyes off Rivik. "I will not run." "Was afraid you'd say that." Jackson sighed, adjusting his grip on his rifle. "Guess we'd better make this bastard earn his paycheck." Rivik raised his head slightly, as if sensing them even before looking up. Then, in a voice cold and calm, he spoke through his helmet's modulator. "You have one chance to surrender." Nova bared his fangs. "So do you." Rivik reached for his weapon. Jackson flipped the detonator switch. The hunt was over. The war had begun, seen. With one brutal, final motion, Nova clamped his massive jaws down on RC's arm, the one holding the blade. The sound of bone snapping echoed across the scrapyard. RC let out a pained grunt, his face twisting in agony, but Nova didn't let go. His golden eyes blazed and his voice rumbled with a growl that shook the air. "You hunted the wrong prey." With a sickening crunch, Nova ripped the bounty hunter's arm from its socket. RC fell to his knees, gasping, his body trembling from shock and pain. Jackson, still stunned, stepped forward, gun raised, but he hesitated. Nova turned toward him. "Jackson." His voice was calm, steady. Jackson swallowed. He knew what Nova was asking. Do we let him live? He stared at Rivik, the once unstoppable bounty hunter, now bleeding and broken. Then Jackson did something no one expected. He lowered his gun. "No," his voice was firm. "We don't kill him." Nova stared at him. "He will return." Jackson shook his head. "Not like this. Not after this." Nova's golden eyes flickered. Then slowly he let Rivik go. The bounty hunter collapsed, gasping for breath, clutching his ruined shoulder. Jackson crouched beside him, his voice low. "You tell Follows something for me." Rivik's silver eyes flicked toward him, filled with pain and fury. Jackson smirked. "You tell him we're coming for him next." Rivik didn't answer. He just staggered to his feet, bleeding and broken, and disappeared into the night. Jackson exhaled, rubbing the back of his neck. "Well," he muttered, looking over at Nova. "That was fun." Nova huffed. "You humans have a strange definition of fun," Jackson grinned. "And you're stuck with me, big guy." Nova's golden eyes softened. "Yes," he rumbled. "I suppose I am." Jackson looked up at the stars above. Follows had sent a bounty after them. Now they were going after him. Together, the war beast and the mechanic. And the galaxy would never be the same. Your narrative effectively captures the tension and dynamics between Jackson, Nova, and Kane Rivik. To enhance your action scenes further, consider the following suggestions. 1. Vary set and structure. Utilize shorter sentences to convey urgency and rapid movement during combat sequences. This technique can make the action more immediate and impactful. joeydearso.com/blog FSFS ChatGPT. 2. Sensory details. Incorporate descriptions that engage the senses, such as the metallic scent of blood, the crunch of debris underfoot, or the dim, flickering lights of the scrapyard, to immerse readers fully in the scene. jahamv.com/blog How to write awesome action scenes in sci-fi/.com. Character motivations. Clarify what each character aims to achieve in the confrontation. Understanding their desires and stakes can add depth to the action and make the conflict more compelling. WritersHelpingWriters.net, WritersHelpingWriters.net/2022-04, 6 tips for how to write a compelling action scene, / 4. Emotional beats. Balance physical actions with insights into the character's emotions. For instance, explore Jackson's internal struggle as he decides whether to spare Rivik or delve into Nova's primal satisfaction in overpowering a formidable foe. 5. Show don't tell. Demonstrate the intensity of the battle through actions and dialogue rather than exposition. Instead of stating that Nova is a fearsome warrior, depict his prowess through his swift, decisive movements and the reactions of his adversaries. ZainaYousef.com/blog/ How to write awesome action scenes in sci-fi. 6. Maintain pacing. Ensure that the action flows smoothly, with peaks and lulls to give readers moments of tension and release. This rhythm can keep the audience engaged and provide space for character development amidst the chaos. crabcraforauthors.com/how-to-write-amazing-action-scenes-chat.com. By implementing these techniques, you can create action scenes that are not only thrilling, but also rich in character and atmosphere, leaving a lasting impression on your readers.